Hi, my name is Idai Makaya. I'm a 47-year-old fitness coach based in Milton Keynes, where I run a personal training studio. Today, I'm going to be giving you a presentation about overcoming adversity, and I'm going to share my own experiences throughout my life of overcoming adversity and some lessons that I've learned, which I hope you can apply too. My first case study goes back to when I was 19 years old. I was a second year university student studying for my bachelor's degree in biology and chemistry. And this was back in 1993 when my parents separated. So we were in a bit of trouble because I was in the middle of my degree and I had no funding. The university said they'd give us one semester within which to sort the finances, after which I'd have to drop out. So they allowed me to continue to attend my lectures and to be a student living on campus until I could sort out my finances. Now, there was no way my mum and I could pay my university fees at the time. We just weren't ready for it. But my mum told me, never give up, have faith in yourself, have faith in God, and we will get through. Do everything you can within your power and react to the things you can react to. Control the things you can control. And for me, that's been the most important lesson I've learned in overcoming adversity. We went through that semester. It was very difficult, but I was very focused on my grades. I got the best grades I'd got so far in university. I worked really, really hard. I made sure I was the top student in the Faculty of Science. That was what I could control. My mom started looking for scholarships for me, and she did everything in her power to find a scholarship for me. She couldn't get one, but one day she was visiting the Ministry of Education, and she told them that, my son's doing really well, he's got good grades, and he's trying to get a scholarship. His dad is no longer paying his fees, and she just couldn't get anywhere with it. But she kept going back. She was persistent, and that's the second thing I've learned about overcoming adversity. Guys, it doesn't happen the first time or even the second time or the third time, but you've got to keep pushing. You've got to be persistent. And my mum kept visiting the ministry, but they kept turning her away. She couldn't get to see anybody important. Then one day she was in the lift, the elevator, as some people call it, going up to the ministry floor, and there was a man in there, and it turns out he was the minister of education. And he asked her what she was doing, and she kind of gave him a background to her story. And he said, I think I can help you. And it was just luck. She was going up there, the minister was in the elevator, and guess what? A few weeks later I had a scholarship and I got my degree a few years later. You make your own luck, guys. Sometimes you can't see a way out. Sometimes you can't see a way forward. Sometimes you've been blindsided by life. You're not prepared. But if you never give up and you never stop trying, you'll find that you make your own luck. But this was the first time that I learned the rules for dealing with adversity. And this takes me through to the next case study I'd like to talk you through, which is my first really big endurance event. It was called London, Edinburgh, London. It took place in 2013. It's an Audax cycling event which goes from London to Edinburgh and back again. That's 900 miles, and you've got 116 hours and 40 minutes within which to complete the ride. I was doing this on a stand-up bike. It was the first time anybody had attempted something like this on a stand-up bike, and nobody believed it was possible. So I was under great pressure, and I'll take you through it as you watch some video, just so you can visualize what I was going through. But I had to get through this 900-mile ride in 4 days and 20 hours and 40 minutes. The London, Edinburgh, London challenge was huge. We had to cover more than 200 miles a day to get through this event within the cutoff times. And I was riding with my friend Alan. You saw him there in that clip. But I was also riding a lot on my own. And in the second half of the event, we were sleeping in these special dormitories where they'd set alarms to wake you up, and my alarm didn't work, so they didn't wake me up, and I lost 6 hours because I was so tired. I'd been riding for nearly 3 days. I was exhausted, and without the alarm, I just couldn't wake up. So I just slept there for 6 extra hours, and I was far behind the cutoff times now. So there were more than 1,000 people participating in this event, but now I was just left there almost by myself, and I had to make up all that time, those 6 hours, if I was to finish within the 116 hours and 40 minutes time limit. I remembered all those things I'd learned growing up. You never quit. You make your own luck. You focus on the things you can control. And I rode and rode and rode for 24 hours without stopping. Eventually, I went for 43 hours without stopping to sleep. And I made it in with 15 minutes to spare before the 116 hours and 40 minutes had expired. And this was a lesson for me. I really thought I was out of it. I thought it was impossible. I faced every kind of challenge and difficulty along the way, but I remembered, never give up, be persistent, make your own luck, and I got through it. My third case study is probably the toughest example I can share from my life of overcoming adversity, and it relates to my brother Garai. That's him in the picture. Garai was a skydiver, and he had just completed his instructor's qualifications. And on the same day that he qualified to be an instructor, he died in an accident. It was a freak accident, and we lost him. And Garai often did fundraising activities through his skydiving events. So I wanted to remember him, and I focused on what I could control, which was to start a charitable foundation in my brother's memory. I really wanted this to mean something, so I set myself a really ambitious goal to start fundraising. I wanted to raise £80,000, and my goal was to break the world record for the most pull-ups achieved in 24 hours. So I began training in 2019 around April, and I trained really hard for 5.5 months. But during my world record attempt, I injured my shoulder. I injured it so badly that I couldn't do pull ups anymore. I couldn't train at all. And so I found myself in the situation where I had to start from scratch, and I had to react to what I could control and focus on what I could control. And I realized that what I could control was how I trained. And I noticed that if I turned my hands around and did a chin up, which is a reversed grip pull up, I could still train. So my shoulder injury wouldn't allow me to do pull ups with my hands facing forward. But if I turned them round and did chin ups with reverse grips, I could train. I still had a problem with the shoulder, but I could train. And so that's what I started to do. I started to prepare myself to break the chin ups world record of 5,094 reps. That record had stood for 4 years by 2020 when I attempted it. I trained all through the lockdown in my garage. I trained hard in that room all by myself, focused on my goal, and I kept telling myself, never give up. There's always a way. Focus on what you can control. And in September of 2020, I completed 5,340 chin-ups, which is the new world record for chin-ups. And that record still stands, and I hope it stands a long time. I've raised more than £11,000 now towards my brother's charitable foundation, and my fundraising work continues. And what I want to share from this is that, guys, you can't stop certain things from happening. I can never bring my brother back, but I'm trying to help myself get through it, and I'm trying to bring some good out of the tragedy by focusing on what I can control. And what I can control is raising money and continuing my brother's charitable work. And that's what I'm doing. I'm still gunning for my goal of £80,000. I'm only £11,000 in, but we don't give up. We never quit. We stay persistent, and we make our own luck. And trust me, you guys know it, I will never quit. Good things can come out of bad things. And we've got to just remember that overcoming adversity brings us a better life in the end. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation, and I hope you've learned something that you can use in your own life.